here. So you can light, and then you can even get in the car afterwards, as long as when you light, you have in mind that I'm not accepting Shabbos yet. That's something we talked about. You could always make it tonight. We'll go more into that. That's going to be coming up soon. More of that discussion about the Tanai, the stipulation that you can make before you light. You could. We'll talk about that. It's an interesting question. Where should you light? We're going to get it. That will become an interesting. I'm also acknowledging that there are going to be people going to light here, so it's interesting as they think about it.
People who are going to eat here and people who are not going to eat here.
That's correct. That's correct.
You know how it's meritorious to start thinking about Shabbat like on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Is it meritorious to make Shabbat longer or you just doing it a disconvenience thing or something? Now you happen to say, oh yeah, I'm going to bring in Shabbos the earliest that possibly can.
It's Tosefes Shabbos. You know, meaning if you have it within your power to do so, it's no problem. There's no Tosefes Shabbos could be 5 seconds. You know, it could be you supposed to add something from the weekdays to the holy, from the Monday to the holy. Most people will do early Shabbos because it's more convenient for their life. Whether it's because it's better for their timing in terms of dinner, Shabbos dinner, children, so that they can be up, and if it's the summer, it's very late otherwise. So that's usually the consideration for doing Shabbos. Where I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, which is the western part of the Eastern time zone, every week we did Plaga Mincha.
Is it just something you can do, or should someone who wants to do
there's
it
no
all the time
there's no meritorious piece of it. It's really just a fulfillment of Tosefes Shabbos, but there's no requirement for the length of Tosefes Shabbos. Yeah.
Well, see, I know that if you start thinking about it earlier, there is something positive to it.
The preparations for Shabbos. Yeah, that's a mitzvah of kavod Shabbos. Yeah. So let's take a look at Sif Hey, which I think we started last. We definitely started last week, and then we'll just continue from the Mishnah Berurah where we stopped. So just to review where we were. So Reish Samach Gimel Sif Hey is 72 on the top right hand corner of the page. Okay, that's the bracha. That should be no shock to everybody. It's the same text that we have today. As I pointed out last week, Ner Shel Shabbos, because the core mitzvah of candle lighting for Shabbos is one candle. That's why it's not Ladlik Neros Shel Shabbos. It's Ner Shel Shabbos. Okay? And Echad Ha'ish Ve'echad Ha'isha, whether it's a man making the bracha or a woman making the bracha. We're going to talk about, by the way, if you see there was one word at the bottom of my page for Sivav, not bottom of the Shulchan Aruch text, so it's going to go to the next page, which says Bachurim, right? What about the single boys? We're going to get there in a moment. The single boys have to light too. This is it's going to be very explicit that yeshiva bachur is in a dorm, college students in a dorm, they should be lighting their own, or they have their own apartment, whatever it is, should be lighting. So anyways, that's the text of the bracha, no matter man or woman, all the same. Gam be Yom Tov tzarich levarach ladik ner shel Yom Tov. It's Yom Tov. You say ladik ner shel Yom Tov. Take a look. Sif Katan, Chaf Gimel and Chaf Dalid. Chaf Gimel at the bottom here. We had done Chaf Aleph and Chaf Beis last week. That's why we're going to start over here. Chaf Gimel Gam be Yom Tov v'chulei. Vein tzarich levarach zman al hadlakan. This is a fascinating topic that I'll spend a little bit of time on, but not too much. The Mishnah Berurah writes that you don't have to make the bracha of Zman. Now, what's the bracha of Zman? Shachayan. It's the bracha of time. Shach is always in the Gemara. It's always referred to as the bracha of Zman. Time. It's the bracha of Shachayan. And you don't need the on the hadlak. I didn't even look up, but I'm sure Hinda's giving me a look here like, what? No, okay. Like, what do you mean? Mihu b'mkom shenagu. But if there's a place where they do make shechiyanu when you light candles, ein limchos biyadan, don't protest such a custom. Now you'll say, that is our custom though, right? So don't worry, I'm not here to protest the custom, because Mishnah Berurah said I shouldn't protest against the custom. Why would you think that that shechiyanu wouldn't be tied to, well, sorry, the other way. Why would you think that shechiyanu would go with adlakos neros? We do it because that's what we do. That's what our parents taught us.
When are we going to say it?
Okay, good. So as a way for a woman to more actively say it, so it's connected to the bracha for the candles, and the person making kiddush typically is the husband is doing that bracha then.
Commentary on your relationship with Shima.
So, but the argument with what Hinda said is that at the end of the day, saying amen to the bracha of shechianu that somebody else makes fulfills my obligation to shechianu. So I hear that there's something nice about being active here. So one of the reasons that there was that there were some who didn't like the idea of making shachianu at candle lighting was because what happens if, as Rav Kanievsky writes here in my extra comments I have, what happens if a person is an almana, right? A woman is a widow. Could just be that she's single and lives alone, or just lives with other women. The ikar, the essential time to make the bracha of shechianu, is along with the kiddush. And if such a woman were just making kiddush on their own, right, or in a group of young women, or it doesn't matter. I'm thinking about college and the group of women apartment, but whatever, it could be any just woman or women. Someone's got to make kiddush. And when you make kiddush, you have to make shechianu. That's really the time for making kiddush. So if in a situation, time for making shechianu. Sorry, thank you. That's really the best time. That's the time because it's connected. It's connected with the mitzvah of kiddush. Now, why is kiddush so important to connect to shechianu? Because kiddush celebrates and acknowledges the sanctity of the day, and it's the opening of the day. The candle lighting, interestingly enough, is something that happens before the day really starts. It's interesting. We make a shechianu. What we do is make a shechianu before it's even the day. Now, if they accept that it's the day when they go like this, and then they make the bracha, technically it's already Yom Tov. So I guess there's something to be said for making shechianu at that point.
You could also make those blessings, both Shabbat and Yom Tov, and then say, I have in mind not to be back
Correct.
until I ride to shul. Right?
That's correct.
Before, right?
And that happens every Yom Kippur, by the way. Not every, but for many people, Yom Kippur, you're traveling to shul right after you light candles to get there for your Kol Nidre. So, anyways, if this is the practice, Aruch HaShulchan Aruch also defends the minhag that women say shechianu when they light candles on Yom Tov. That and as Rav Moshe writes in the Shelos and Chuvos, shekach haya haminhag b'meshech kama me'os shanim. This has been the minhag for hundreds of years, and you don't just change minhagim that have gone on for hundreds of years. And I'm not here personally to try to say don't do it. I would say that if a woman did find herself in a situation where she was alone for Yom Tov, and she was going to be making kiddush herself, she probably should rather say that if she's going to say the candle, she should make one shechianu. And I think that in that scenario, it's better to do it at kiddush than to do it at candle lighting time. But that's please, we should always find ourselves in a situation where we're with family and we're celebrating, and we shouldn't be alone. But that would be the reality that in that situation.
I want to ask one question.
Yeah.
Last week, but it's interesting that it says that in Membet, I think there's is that mean that a man is gonna light one candle and a woman's gonna?
No. It's whether echad ve'echad in Gemara terminology is maybe in modern Hebrew, right?
Yes,
it's like whether this one or that one, right? Whether it's a man or a woman. Yeah. Okay. Now, as I promised last week, we're going to one more. Chaf Dalet, Ner Shel Yom Tov, V'im Chal Yom Tov b'Shabbos. This is no big shock. Omer Yom Tov. Matter. Someone's halachic principle. Why is it Hadlik Ner Shel Shabbos v'Shel Yom Tov? Tadir v'Sheino Tadir Kodam. The thing that is frequent and nothing that's less frequent, we do the frequent first. So Shabbos comes every week. Yom Tov is more sporadic. So lahadlik ner shel Shabbos v'shel Yom Tov. But notice it's a ner. In theory, you can light one candle. That's enough for Shabbos and Yom Tov. It's the ner shel Shabbos v'shel Yom Tov. Again, our custom is to usually light more than one, but that's the core mitzvah.
More than one, but not basically the same. You don't have a special candle for Yom.
Correct. It serves really the same purpose. The same purpose is that there should be light in the home. So it's fulfilled with one candle. Yeah.
If somebody likes fine, why only do
Yom Tov, not Shabbos. It's not a Shabbos Yom Tov, in other words, just Yom Tov, not
Yeah.
Shabbos.
Yeah, I think, I mean, a lot of people light based on the number of people in their household. On Yontif, some people still
We don't
do.
do different on Yom
You're
Tov.
right. Some people, do you, your family guys do differently on Yom Tov? Yeah, it's interesting.
It's interesting.
Interesting.
Interesting. You don't know why? Yeah. Yeah. Ask them. Report back. I'm
Yes, let me
curious.
get back to this.
Does their parents did? Well, that's it. There's really, a lot of the, once you get beyond two is already a minhag that's based on Shamor v'Zachar, which doesn't exist, by the way, on Yom Tov. There's no Shamor v'Zachar, but it's all minhag. It's really all minhag driven, and I'm sure there's a good story somewhere back there if you go up the family tree. Okay, so the Shulchan Aruch continues with Yom Kippurim. Let's go back up on top now. Yom Kippur below Shabbos, just a Yom Kippur that doesn't fall out on Shabbos. Yesh Misha Omer Shalo Yivarech. There are those who say that you don't make a bracha for candle lighting, which makes it sound like that you should light candles because you know why? Because otherwise it'll be dark in your house, so you should light candles, but you shouldn't make a bracha. Now, I want everyone here to think: why in the world would I think that I shouldn't make a bracha when I light candles for Yom Kippur? I don't want to venture. I'm going to read what it says. I only come on Simon Tough ratios. I'm going to go to Simon Tough ratio and read the Shulchan Aruch there. But in the meantime,
Darkness is part of the Nui.
that's a clever.
That's a good
Steve,
start.
that's very clever.
Your house.
Okay, you're shul the whole time, like your house, but like in the evening after Ma'ariv is done, people probably went to sleep. Yeah, I agree. I grant you that there are many who in the morning, once they can arrive in the morning, they're in shul for a whole day. I know we have a break and we have a long break here actually, but I'm just acknowledging. I'm not complaining or kvetching. I'm acknowledging the reality. What was that? Well, we should learn on Yom Kippur. That's actually there's no Tisha B'Av you don't learn. There's no there you have restrictions on learning. But the reality is that you're not eating. And the light is supposed to be there to provide for the table. Yeah, you need light in your room so you can see. But like the essential part of lighting up lighting the Shabbos candles or the Yom Tov candles is that there should be light in the place where you eat, so you really have a oneg Shabbos. But such a concept, oneg Yom Kippur, doesn't exist. In fact, if anything, as Steve said, it's inui. You're supposed to have some suffering here involved. So tough ratio, that's 610. So let's go to 610. I'm going to read you what the Shulchan Aruch here says in tough ratio. He writes, Makom shenoagim lahadlik ner belel hayom kippurim madlikim makom shenoagu shlo lahadlik ein madlikim. So there was a minhag to light. Some people had the never minhag to even light at all. This is what the Shulchan Aruch writes. And he writes here, okay, so he says you make sure to light a candle in your room, fine. If it does fall on Shabbos, then you have to light. And you make the bracha of Ner Shel Shabbos Yom Kippur. Look, once a rule is in place that Shabbos has to have candles, even though Yom Kippur does override a lot of Shabbos in terms of the enjoyment part, once a gzeira is made that you have to light candles. Even if it's Yom Kippur, you light candles, you make a bracha. That's even the approach of those who don't. Now, why do we do it even when it doesn't fall out on Shabbos? Right, here we have a yesh omer that we don't. Take a look at Chaf Hey in the Mishnah right here. He says, maybe so. He says, I only come on Simon Tough ratio, as I just read you. Maybe Shalom Chaber Das Aposek Hamatzrich Levarech, the Svir Lega, the Gam Yom Kippurim. Sorry, I didn't even read the part that was the most relevant. He says, Yesh Mishomer Shem Levarech Hadlakas Ner Yom Kippurim. V'chein HaMinhag B'Medino Seil. The Ramah says that is our minhag. Just going back to the previous. So I ended too early.
The latter.
Yes, the Ramah says
Not to light.
that, well, there was an light, but then there's another opinion that says that you should light and make a bracha, and the Ramah then chimes in and says this in Hilchot Yom Kippurim, that is the minhag in these lands. So he writes here, the Svirle Digam Yom Kippurim Yes, there's no eating and drinking. And there's no delighting in the day, in enjoying in the day. But even so, there's still shalom bayis that's at stake. And that is really the core of the mitzvah of hadlakas neiros. The core is really shalom bayis. Now, shalom bayis, usually vis-a-vis the Shabbos meal, that really enhances the peace in the home, that everyone's enjoying the beginning of Shabbos, we're eating, we're benachas. It's great. Even when you take that away, at the end of the day, we really need to make sure that people are not yelling at each other, that you forgot to turn the lights on and you forgot this, and that's why my knee is hurting now because I just jammed into this thing. And at the end of the day, you need a little light. So that's the core, and that's why the minhag is even that those who say you light on Yom Kippur and you make a bracha, that's why. It's because of Shalom Bayis. It's singularly because of Shalom Bayis, because there's no mitzvah of Oneg Yom Kippurim. So, by the way, so I like this notion because I think it really underscores what's at the core of lighting candles, and that is Shalom Bayis. Much as this to see your food, it's nice. Shalom Bayis, yes. Then everyone agrees. There's not even an argument in that case because then you make the bracha. And once you're making the bracha, you throw in Vishal Yom Kippurim. But even when it's just the regular weekdays, the Ramah reports that we follow the opinion that we make a bracha. And I'm not aware of any Ashkenazim for sure who don't make. That is a Sephardic custom to make,
Absolutely,
and to make the bracha. Yeah. So this has become, I believe, universally accepted. If you look at, we open the machzer says in the candle lighting, the bracha and shechianu, which is interesting. We'll talk about in a moment. I even make the shechianu. Women make a shechianu when they light candles. Which is interesting. When they light the candles, there's no kiddush,
right.
Which is why for everyone else they make shechianu right as the day is about to begin, right after Kol Nidre, before Baruch Hu. Once it's already dark, everyone else in shul makes a shechianu, or at least you listen to the chazan make the shechianu and you say amen. Okay, let's take a look now at the Ramah.
So does that mean that I should not say Shechianu when I light for Yom Kippur? Because in shul, if I say amen to the chazan, I'm making the bracha.
No. When you say amen to someone else's bracha, even if let's say you've already done it, you can. Meaning, if you didn't make it before, and you hear the chazan bracha, and chazan by the virtue that he's the chazan has in mind the Kehila, you can say amen. In some machzorim, they'll say that people should say it quietly in an undertone to themselves while the chazan is saying it. That's fine too. You want to take it into your own hands and make the bracha? You can. By the way, interesting question that always comes up every Hallel. Okay, every time we say Hallel, the chazan will be the first one to make the bracha. Amen. Wait a minute. If I just said amen to his bracha, and I was yotze with the bracha of the chazan, what gives me the right to say another bracha? It's a bracha levatala. So that's an interesting sugya that comes up. Bottom line is, in this room, just don't, when you say amen, have in mind that this is not my bracha, but I heard a bracha, so I should always say amen to someone else's bracha. And if I filled the mitzvah already, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm just saying amen because the bracha was recited. This part have a good on Rosh Chodesh. There's no bracha. There's no bracha. And even on Yom Tov, it's a different bracha, right? You guys say likmor at Hallel. Yeah.
She says it. You say amen to that, and you already said it.
We're saying short and Hallel,
right?
Because we're not going to finish.
That's right. Correct.
You could purposely have in mind not the rest of the congregation.
So, okay, good.
So what do you
Yeah.
say?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeff, and then Shlomo. Yeah.
So regarding the nafkamina, in terms of why we like candles, right? If it is to allow the food, meaning for us to see the food. Or because it's from us, do we always have to light where our dining room?
Yes.
And
that's the core mitzvah.
And on Kippur, does it change? Can we light somewhere else? Can we light in the kitchen? Can we light anywhere else? Right?
Yeah.
If there is no food, so like.
I would say the answer is yes. It's wherever it gives the most light to the house, and that one you can make a bracha on. We usually don't say when we prepare lights around the house, and in the days when they use candles to do that, you would light in various rooms, but the one where you would make the bracha would be where you ate. But if you are, we'll talk about the Bachurim in a moment. The Bachurim who live in a dorm room, right? They already had this idea, and then you went somewhere else to eat, the common room or something like that. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But usually where you eat is where you make the bracha. Yeah.
So in general, when you say amen to someone's bracha, you'd say the bracha because if you hear someone else eating a food, say or and you say amen because you want to fulfill the crowd saying amen. You're not taking the bracha on him because you're not eating an apple.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just when I hear praise of God, I have a responsibility to say amen.
So
yeah, I agree with that statement.
You take this as your mitzvah. I mean, it's your.
You both have intent.
If the person saying the bracha is eating an apple, you're going to eat an apple. I say the ha'etz. I have in mind that you're all going to, and then you say
an apple and I say amen to this bracha. I have to say amen. So
yeah, of course,
I'm not fulfilling. So
you're fulfilling the obligation of saying amen to a bracha.
Okay.
There's a whole simon in Shulchan Aruch about that.
Okay. So
actually, we did that a few years ago. Yes, you have to say amen when you hear a bracha. You have to say amen. Yeah. Okay. The Ramah says here, Yesh Misha Omer Shemevarchin Kodem Ha'adlaka. There are those who say you should make the bracha before you light the candles, which is how you do most mitzvot. You make the bracha and then you do the action. Okay. Take a look at Chav Vav very quickly. Kodem Ha'adlaka Kishar Kol HaMitzvah Shemevarchin Alehem Over L'Asiyasa. Like any other mitzvah, where you make the bracha right before you do the action. Right before you shake the lulav, you make the bracha. Right before you eat the matzah, you make the matzah bracha. Right before you light the Hanukkah candles, you say the bracha for the Hanukkah candles. V'yesh misha omer, and there are those that say, back up on top of the Ramah, shemevarech achar ha'adlaka. There are those who say you make the bracha after you light the candles. Okay. Take a look at the Mishnah Berurah, then we'll go back up on top of it. Chav Zayin, achar ha'adlaka, svirle. What are they? What's their logic? What's their reasoning? They hold the im tivarech, because if you make the bracha first, have like ilu kibla l'Shabbos beferish. Then I'm accepting explicitly Shabbos. I literally, the bracha says ner shel Shabbos. This is a candle for Shabbos. That means I'm in my headspace. It's Shabbos now. V'shuv asur lahadlik. Now I'm literally holding the flame in my hand, ready to light the candle. But the shuv asur lahadlik. I'm just acknowledging that it's Shabbos, and now I'm going to light a candle on Shabbos. I can't do that. If he came, the Yom Tov de lo shayach zeh lekule alma tevarech ve'achar kach tadlik. Now I'm going to acknowledge that this is not the minhag, but I believe it should be. Okay,
That'd be interesting,
because
I don't remember this.
it would make a lot of sense. You're allowed to go from candle to candle, from flame to flame on Yom Tov. It would make a lot more sense on Yom Tov to strike a mattress or strike a whatever, and you're holding a candle ready to go. And you can close your eyes if you want. Make a shechianu too if you're making the shechianu, and then light. That would make a lot more sense because you are allowed to transfer a flame on Yom Tov. That's not what you do, right? It's not what you do. It's not, I think most women don't do this, and I'm not here to.
Yeah, but I've never
That may be one of the issues of where if you get used to doing it on Yom Tov.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what.
Right.
Correct. But he violates here, and he says that the Mishnah Berurah in no uncertain terms here even says that the Mishnah Berurah says in no uncertain terms, lekule alma, that everyone would agree that you should make the bracha and then afterwards light. Now, in my little extra note here, did he say anything? Right, if you're talking about an electric, turn on the lights in your house, that of course you have to do tadlikenu kodem shetibracha. If it's an electric, you're only using an electric incandescent light bulb. Right, there's only on or off. There's no transferring. So then, of course, you have to do. You have to light it. You have to say the bracha before. But he doesn't cite a dissenting opinion here. But I am acknowledging. Now take a look here. Let's keep going in the Mishnah Berurah. V'das Magen Ram de lo plug. This is why. And then here's the answer why no one does this. Okay, the Magen Ram says no. It's a lo plug. Meaning, you don't. Once this is the standard has been set for how we light candles. We light and then make the bracha. No differentiating. Right? So that's the Magen Avram's opinion. He says, but many Achronim agree with me, Mishnah Berurah, that it would make more sense to make the bracha and then light on Yom Tov. But the Magen Avram seems to have won the day on this one. And with their feet, the women have voted and said, we are first lighting, and then we're making the bracha. And that's and I wouldn't tell anyone here to switch, right? I wouldn't tell anyone to go home or tell their wife to switch.
Switch, and Magen Avraham has been like that. I mean, he's the Kosek.
Oh, for sure, he's on the side of the Mishnah. Yeah, but it's interesting, right? You have the Mishnah Berurah, who
No, that's why he says it that way. It's more logical.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. Correct.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's the minhag. If you find yourself in a situation where I don't know, you said the bracha beforehand and then you lit, it's okay. Don't worry. You see, it's fine for Yom Tov. But that's the at least the theoretically what would make more sense. But then there's the minhag, of course. Okay, so take a look at the Shroval continuing on here. So lighting afterwards has become our minhag, as we'll see in a moment. But how do I fulfill this over la'asiyah something? Every time I make a bracha, I'm supposed to make it right before I do the action. So lo yehanani mena ad la'achar bracha. So what do? I light, but I don't benefit from it. I light it, and umesimin yad lifnei hahaner. Notice how it's different than what you do, right? And that you put in front of your eyes, right? Everyone, all the Jewish women put their hands in front of their eyes. The Ramah here writes you should put your hands in front of the candles, block the candles, right? Right? So you light it and then you put your hand in front of it. And then you make the bracha. And that's called, because I wasn't benefiting from it, so I made the bracha, and then I benefit from it. Now, this is not the most crazy idea. It's not pshat. Pshat would be over la'asiyasa means bracha action. Here, since the bracha, the mitzvah really is about shalom bayis and the benefit that comes from the light, so you'll say, well, since I didn't benefit from it right away, I lit it and then I covered it. Well, then once I remove my hand, now I'm getting the benefit. Now the mitzvah sort of is happy. But the mitzvah really is the action, right? The benefit from it is the benefit from the mitzvah. That's there are benefits that derive from a mitzvah. But the mitzvah really action is the lighting, not the benefiting from the light. But no, that's the cute way to try to make it over la'asiyasa.
You have an obligation of one candle, and you have one person who's lighting it,
Right.
and there are others that are going to benefit from it. The benefit might be and it's because of shalom bayit. So I can see an underpinning of that. But also, I think the era has something to do with it. That Shabbat candle might be your light, right? So if you did it his way, you weren't getting any light.
Right.
Whereas now, you have lights on everywhere, so that's not going to do anything for you. You're not going to have any sort of differentiation. Right. So if the Ramah were writing today, he
might say cover your own eyes. Yeah. B'chein haminag, he says. That's the minhag. B'chein haminag. That women light, cover, uncover, make the bracha, uncover, and that's why there's do you look at the candles right after you remove? Like you look at them for a moment? Or no? Sure. Yeah. That's
this whole thing, right?
Right. I don't know. By the way, I don't know where this comes from. No, you just do this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what the purpose of this was. So.
Well, I think it's to bring in the light, and then So.
Yeah, I'm not sure if where this part comes from, but covering makes sense. That you're not benefiting from the flame. Okay. Now let's take a look at Vav. Okay, let's talk about the Bachurim. Okay, Sif Vav. Bachurim ha'holchim lilmod chutz lebeisam. They go to yeshiva to learn, and they're chutz lebeisam. They're not living at home now. They're in someone else's home. They're in a dorm. See, it's not a new concept. Tzrichim lahadlik ner Shabbos bechedram ulevarech alav. They should make a bracha in their cheder, meaning in their room, their dorm room. They should make they should light and make a bracha on it. Now, let's read the rest of Vav, and then we'll go back to the Mishnah Berurah. That's in a different sif,
We
never lit candles in the yeshiva.
In the dorm rooms. Were there candles lit anywhere?
We didn't. There were in the dining room, but there was no candle.
You didn't do it in your individual room.
Right. But it was a fire hazard.
Right.
They should have given you electric.
Aval, let's keep reading here. Aval mishu etzel ishto, ein sarech lahadlik bechedro ulevarech alav. Ulefi ishto mevareches bishvilo. So now you tell me what you think on this one. But I believe he's trying to say here, but if you're with your wife, with his wife, so obviously a young man, and they're chutz lebeisam, and they're somewhere else, but the wife's with him too. Is that how you're reading this one? The wife's with him too. So they're living in the dorm room together. No? And he's at home, you're saying?
Yeshiva, one's in yeshiva, and his wife is home learning.
It's
Lighting, not the lighting.
Yeah, I think that is what he's talking about.
You're saying here, Aval Mishu Etzel Ishto, meaning he has a wife. Not literally Etzel Ishto.
Makes sense.
Well, no, Rabbi Akiva's his wife sent his way for 40 years.
Yeah, because if his wife was with him, of course she would be.
Right, there's nothing to talk about.
Right.
This is what happened, like the regular, like.
I don't know what
Ein sarch lahadik bechedro levarech alav lefi sheishto mevarechas bishvilo. You see, this is where. Okay, 1 second. Shloi kashal be'etzo be'evan. Okay, so let's take a look here at the Mishnah Berurah. Let's work through it. Okay, let's take a look at.
No, but he could be in a situation where he has a place to stay with his wife, but he's studying on Friday. So, but he goes and maybe to the place to have a meal there, and then he goes back to his room to study.
Let's take a look here. Let's take a look at Chavkas. Let's back up a little bit. So again, here the Bachor is clearly single, right? Chavkas in the Mishnah Berurah. Hainu sheyesh lahem nashim. Ela shehochim chutz lebeisam, ve'av sheishto madlakas bebeso, e'er niftav birchas ishto. Now, so he says here, he could be married, by the way. Hainu sheyesh lahem nashim, right? So there are. That's right, right, exactly. Ela shehochim chutz lebeisam, but he's outside the house. He's not living at home right now. Ve'av sheishto madlakas bebeso. Let's say he's married and his wife is lighting in their house. Eino niftav birchas ishto. It doesn't work. She's in one town in Poland, and I'm in another town in Poland. He's got his own guest room somewhere, dorm, some local. He's in the. They didn't always have dorms, by the way, and they had these yeshivas in Europe. People would stay at other people's houses. That's how some of these yeshivas worked. So he had his own guest room, and his wife was back in whatever, where they came from. If he's not married at all, but even if he was living, he's married, but his wife and him are not together for Shabbos. She's back wherever, and he's learning in whatever yeshiva and staying in somebody's house, and he's got a guest room. He should light in his guest room. Chavtes bechedram afilu hacheder miyuchad rak lalunsham ve'ochlam b'ayisachem. Even if he's got a special room where he sleeps. And he eats somewhere else. The yeshiva bachurim, they eat somewhere, a different place, and he comes back to his. So he should light in his room. This is like a dorm situation, right? You make a dorm room is your bias. That's your house, and you're eating in a public whatever. So you should light in your space. You're a bachur, or again, even if you're married and you're just away for Shabbos, and the ochlam b'bayis acher, and you eat somewhere else. So that's fine.
So even if let's say you're away from your wife on a Friday night, you're in a hotel somewhere on a business trip, so you need to light.
You should light for sure.
Set off the fire.
And set off the fire.
But
you're right.
Maybe turn on the light.
So Rav Shechter, I think I mentioned in a previous year, Rav Shechter said you have a little incandescent light bulb, right? That has the glowing metal. So that the Rambam says that's like an Asian. Rav Shechter always tells people if that's you're in a situation, you can use that as as a light. You're in a hotel where they say the rule is that you can't have a fire in the room, and it's a problem because
your wife is home lighting, you don't have to. But
from what we learned so far, you have to do that.
So you on the boat.
Right before, yes.
Like in a hospital, you could do that.
In a hospital, correct.
Yeah, some of them even used to give you these kits where
correct. If it's got a glowing metal piece, right, then you're good. Glowing metal is like an Aish according to the Rambam. So I'm just looking here on the side of my extra comments. If so, Tommy has this. That's 39 for you, Tommy. The Talmidei, so just listen, I'm just going to read this part. The Talmidei Yeshiva, ha'ochel b'cheder ha'ochel. So if you have yeshiva students who eat in the cheder ochel, right, in the cafeteria, v'yeshenim b'chadreim, and they sleep in their dorm room. Das the Chazon Ish had the following opinion. It's true, other people are going to light in the cheder ochel. There has got to be light. Someone's got to turn the lights on in the cheder ochel. They should still light the Chazon Ish paskin that you should still light in your dorm room. And even if there's like some lights coming in from the street, street lamps that are feeding into the room, you should still light something. Now that was his opinion. But Me'idach, on the other hand, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach Kasav shetalmidim elu yotzim yidei chovasa b'halakas haner shemadlikim avurim b'cheder ha'ochel. He thought no, the cheder, and this goes to your point, Tommy, right? Shlomo Zalman thought the cheder ochel, the lights that are in the cheder ochel that someone else lit, is sufficient for the talmidim. Mikomokom im chadreihem chashuchim. If they're now the rooms are going to be dark. Ve'en ha'oros shebeperuzdor, and the hallway lights me'irnos and they're not enough. The hallway lights are not enough. Tzrichem he'lahadlik or b'chadreihem. They should light in their rooms. Kadesh lo yikashlu be'etzim u'ba'avanim. So they shouldn't trip over, sticks and rocks that are in their room.
Right. You're by yourself.
Maybe there's a din in shalom bias for yourself. So you should be in company. Achein dai b'ma'at or hamagia mibachutz. But if there is some light coming in from the outside, Rav Shlomo Zalman said they don't have to do anything. But he said, and they pass from Eliashiv here. Rabbi Eliashiv says, if it's otherwise going to be dark and they light, they should make a bracha. Rabbi Eliashiv said. So you see here a smattering of opinions here about how to handle this situation. I'm trying to remember what the Rosh Yeshiva said at YU to the students. I believe that they did tell them to light. I don't remember if it was in their rooms because there was a problem in the rooms. They told them to light in the cheder ochel. I'll find out. They'll ask somebody. But the shot here is, from the Shulchan Aruch, is that you should light and you should make a bracha. Now let's put this next part together, which was confusing a moment ago. Ulevarech alav. Oh, sorry, good. Ulevarech alav. This is still you light in your own room and you make a bracha. Lamed. The hadlakas ner chova mishum shalom bayis. Lighting candles is about shalom bayis. So you shouldn't stumble over any, wood or stones in your room. I guess you have a lot of pet rocks. I'm not sure. I know this is that the floors were made of. They weren't smooth necessarily.
They were ground. There was bare ground.
Right. V'tzarich liyos aneros arukim. Now, this is an important point. You need to make sure that candles are long. You're going to go out to eat in the cheder ochel. You're going to go to whatever local family invited you over for you're the bachor who they invited over. So you got to make sure that when you get back, there's still light, so you benefit from that. If you light it and you leave, and then you come back and the lights are off, that was a bracha levatala. Why did you even light it? Important. If you're going to go out on Friday night for a meal and you're lighting it home, make sure that when you pick up the candle from the box, it says enough time that when the time you get back, you're actually benefiting from it. Because if you're going to eat out,
women, they come over our house.
they drive, right? So it's interesting, right? So the ideal is that it should be in your own house. It's ideal it should be in your own house because that way there's shalom bayis in your house. But if it's not going to last long enough, then better do nothing or do something else. Yeah,
I wasn't making a comment. I just said
that happens. Yeah,
because I know Bunny will say, if you want to light here, you're going to light at home.
Right.
She'll ask them.
100%. And that's why also Yom Kippur. Keep in mind, light candles on Yom Kippur, they should last long enough that when you get back from Mariv, right, that they're still lit. Right, not one of those, if
your house is on fire, then it's probably working.
Yeah, it's correct. Then that's a lot of lights, right?
It seems that according to the prior that if you have other lights available, it probably does not matter that much. Right? I think this whole meaning, according to what you said.
Yeah, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Yeah.
If you're going to have light, then you may not need to do it in your room as well. That would tell me that
correct.
That's okay.
Yeah, to rely on the cheder ochel is BJ's case.
Because that happens all the
Yeah.
You know, maybe like you go out. or
100%.
and Everybody likes their shul a lot.
Correct.
And I think it's because of the fact that we have other lights better, right? We're not
Uh-huh.
relying on that.
So much has changed because of artificial lighting, right? We don't rely on candles. Like if you go back 100 years, this is not here, right? Everyone was in it. I know light bulb was already invented, but like people's houses weren't filled with light bulbs.
When I was in Sheba, we only, and we had an apartment, but we only lived when we were eating at home.
Are you reading
And
that?
mostly, a lot of times we were invited out to people's homes, so, just,
Right.
we didn't.
Yeah. So let's finish up this Mishnah Berurah here, and then we'll pause for today. But he says here about how you read him. So let's say you have a situation. I'm not sure whether you read them here or referring to. I mean, your rate is to go down, but you have certain people who are guests in many. There are many balabatim in one room. And the balabayis is not with them in the cheder. Meaning, there are a lot of people in one space, but the person who sort of owns the space is not with them. That's how I read this. So who lights? So all these, I guess, the yeshiva students, they're all together, and so they all have an obligation to light, even if their wives are lighting in their homes. Right, so they're somewhere. It sounds like they're in the same town now or whatever. But they're in this. They're guests now, or maybe they're guests. Sorry, they're guests in this one place all together, and the balabais is not with them, and their wives are they're back wherever they are. So then someone should figure out who to light. They should just be one group, not like 5 yeshiva baruchim in one room. They only need 5 people lighting the candles. One candle is enough. One should make the bracha, make the bracha, light and break the bracha, and you have in mind everybody else, all the other bachurim who are sharing the dorm room, right? That's enough. You don't even need to, here, take a dime, and that way I'm buying a portion of the oil that you're using to light. You don't even need to do that. One of the boys can light, and it's enough. The wives are lighting in their homes anyways. So there's a mitzvah to have the lights on in their space, and even to make a bracha, but there's no chiyuv that falls on them to light with a bracha because they have wives at home. They don't have an individual obligation to light. They have an obligation because of the situation they find themselves in, and therefore one of them can light, but make a bracha because it's about shalom bayis, and that's important too. Come on, Siv Zayin, as we're going to explore in Siv Zayin, which will be next week. We'll talk about the oreach she'ein lo cheder miyuchad. There's a guest who doesn't have a particular room, and he's going to have to so he doesn't have a place to light. So the owners of the house will light, and he'll give a few cents, whatever, to join in their oil, and be a part of their mitzvah. But here he seems to be indicating that if the person is married, there's no individual obligation to light a candle, right? A woman, wherever she finds herself for Shabbos, the wife always has an obligation to light the candles. Let's say a guy is married, he doesn't have a particular obligation, but if he's in a situation where there are no lights and he's got his own room, he does have an obligation. That's because of the situation he finds himself in. That seems to be what's being described here. And I go back now to the line in Sivav Aval Mishu Eitzel Ishto. Ein Sarach Lahadik Bechedro Levarech Alav. Lefish Ishto Mivarechas Bishvilo. The way I don't know, I'm looking at this is that, and I read it first, that he's obviously he's married, but he's with his wife. I know you guys wanted to say that he's married but not together.
That's what makes it ambiguous here, because it sounds like he's with his wife.
Right. But take a look at Lamed Aleph. Ein sarich lahadlik bechedro. It's aval lahadlik tzarich afilu eino ochel sham. Kedei shelo yikashel be'etzo be'even. But he should light, but he needs to light even if he doesn't eat there, in order so he doesn't trip over, sticks and stones. And so if he's with his wife, meaning she doesn't share that room. I want to say that there's, yeah, I have to go back and do my do some more chazar on it. I want to look what the Aruch HaShulchan has to say. Right.
So much of what you're putting here is based on practicality. And the fact is that nowadays, it's become the ritual of the practice. When you say, oh, you must have the light burning when you come back.
Right.
You go to a very big meal and you're coming back later and the light is off. It was a bracha l'matol, that you lit candles and they were out when you came back. The ritual is this. You're not gonna trip over a stone when you walk into that.
Oh, today.
Yeah, your other light. That's what I'm saying. It's the.
That's why it's important to light the candles in a way that you enjoy the beauty of them, because you're not getting light. You're not getting light from them. You're not getting light from them. That's not what we're at. They should be to beautify the Shabbos experience.
You're not purposely sitting, at Kiddush, if you're home, you're supposed to look at the candles during Kiddush at some point, but the idea that you're benefiting from coming home from shul and reading by them, the light of them, reality of the light.
Even
Right.
if we don't go out, and we've led, and we're in a different room reading or whatever, we'll come back and, look into the dining room, say, oh yeah, the lights are still on, so we still get some pleasure out of it. I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Never kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the mitzvah is a little bit lost on us. This is a little bit lost on us today because the mitzvah is a little bit lost on us today because we have artificial lighting. That's why in the earlier earlier comments we saw, right, it was a mitzvah to go around and light candles in every room, right? The ones you made a bracha on were the ones that were by the food, right, were the dining room.
The Mishnah Brewer, he was okay at the time when they were incandescent lights,
Right. I don't know how popular those were. I don't know if that was so common yet, in